House of Representatives formalizes its bid to overturn the Supreme Court's decision on the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte by filing a motion for reconsideration on Monday, August 4. The Supreme Court earlier declared the fourth impeachment complaint against Duterte unconstitutional. House Speaker Martin Romualdez confirms that the House, through the Office of the Solicitor General, filed the motion seeking to reverse the ruling.
This is not an act of defiance. It is an act of duty. We do not challenge the authority of the court. We seek only to preserve the rightful role of the House, the voice of the people, in the process of accountability.
According to Romualdez, the House has the exclusive power to initiate impeachment cases, but he says the Supreme Court ruling contradicts this. Romualdez says the High Court's decision was based on a misreading of facts and a retroactive imposition of new rules.
Let us be clear. The Constitution says the House of Representatives shall have the exclusive power to initiate all cases of impeachment. That power is not shared, not subject to pre-approval, and not conditional. Yet, in GR number 278353, the Supreme Court ruled otherwise, based on a misreading of facts and a retroactive imposition of the new rules.
On July 25, Supreme Court spokesperson Camille Ting announced that the articles of impeachment forwarded by the House to the Senate were deemed unconstitutional for violating the 1987 Constitution's one-year bar rule. On February 5, Duterte was impeached after 215 members of the House of Representatives from the 19th Congress filed and signed a fourth complaint. The complaint was based on allegations of misuse of confidential funds in her offices, threats against ranking officials, and other possible violations of the Constitution. The first three impeachment complaints against Duterte did not leave the office of the House Secretary General. National Police Commission Vice Chairperson and Executive Officer Rafael Calinisan says 12 police officers linked to the case of the missing sabungeros are being placed under a 90-day preventive suspension. Citing two resolutions signed by the Napolcom en banc, Calinisan says the Commission finds existing substantial legal and factual basis to grant the motion for preventive suspension contained in the complaint filed by whistleblower Julie Patidongan. One resolution names 11 officers who are facing administrative complaints for 6 counts of grave misconduct and conduct unbecoming of a police officer. The resolution cites gravity of the charges, the preliminary showing of strong evidence of guilt, and the need to safeguard the integrity and impartiality of the proceedings. In a separate resolution, the Napolcom also grants the motion for preventive suspension filed by Patidongan against Police Colonel Jacinto Malinao Jr. Malinao is currently assigned to the Philippine National Police Headquarters Support Service along with 11 others. Apart from complaints of grave misconduct and conduct unbecoming of a police officer, Malinao is also facing a third administrative complaint for grave neglect of duty. However, the Commission emphasizes that preventive suspension does not mean they are automatically guilty of the charges. It notes that preventive suspension is not a penalty but a protective and procedural measure. In his complaint, Patidongan alleged that Malinao and 11 others participated in the killings of the missing sabungeros. He also alleged that 12 were involved in illegal activities supposedly committed by businessman Atong Ang. The whistleblower likewise alleged that the 12 police officers received protection money from Ang. Ang has denied Patidongan's claim that he was the mastermind behind the abductions. Last month, Patidongan claimed that the 34 missing sabungeros were dumped in Taal Lake in Batangas. Authorities recover possible human remains along with clothes, shoes, and slippers from Taal Lake in Batangas as the search for the missing sabungeros continues. Philippine National Police spokesperson Brigadier General Jean Fajardo says the possible human remains will undergo cross-matching examination with the DNA samples collected from the relatives of the missing sabungeros. She is also seeking the public's help, asking them if they recognize any of the items recovered from Taal Lake. The PNP official encourages individuals who recognize any of the items to coordinate with the nearest police station. Fajardo says police are not ruling out the possibility that the items could belong to other missing individuals apart from the missing sabungeros. She adds that relatives of missing persons can voluntarily provide their DNA for cross-matching. Whistleblower Julie Patidongan claimed the bodies of the missing sabungeros were placed in sacks and dumped in Taal Lake. Police found that bone fragments recovered separately from the lake in July did not yield enough DNA material to tell forensic investigators whether they were even from animals or humans. Fajardo said the fragments were already contaminated after being submerged for a long time. Citing the clamor for transparency, the Senate will now require the publication of the entire budget process on the government's website, starting from budget requests of agencies. In a kapihan sa Senado forum on Monday, August 4, Senator Wing Gatchalian calls this the start of a golden age of transparency and accountability. Gatchalian is the new chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance.
Ngayon, malaki ang clamor for transparency. So, direction rin namin, ang tawag nga namin sa internally, we will undergo or experience a golden age of transparency and accountability. Kung ikaw ay publiko, gusto mo i-analyze yung budget, makikita mo lang yung step 1 at yung last step. Pero hindi mo makikita yung step by the step. No? Sabi nga ni Ninya, no? Hindi mo makikita yung step by the step dahil kulang-kulang yung pag-upload ng documents.
At present, Gatchalian says only the National Expenditure Program and the General Appropriations Act are uploaded on the Department of Budget and Management's website. The National Expenditure Program is Malacanang's budget proposal, while the General Appropriations Act is the approved budget of Congress and signed by the President. Malacanang is proposing a 6.793 trillion peso budget for 2026. In his proposal, Gatchalian says the entire budget process should be posted on the DBM's website and made accessible to the public. This includes budget preparations, the National Expenditure Program, the General Appropriations Bill, the Senate Committee Report, the Senate Third Reading Version, the Bicameral Committee Report, the Reconciled Version, and the General Appropriations Act.
So ito yung sinasabi kong golden age of transparency kasi step by the step masusundan na ngayon ng taong bayan. No? From NEP to GAB to Senate Third Reading Version to BICAM hanggang mapermahan ng Presidente.
Gatchalian says he will file a resolution to institutionalize the proposed reforms in the budget. The Department of Agriculture will recommend to President Bongbong Marcos that he temporarily halt the importation of rice and increase the tariffs on imported rice to protect local farmers. In a statement on Monday, August 4, Presidential Communications Office Secretary Dave Gomez says the cabinet will discuss this urgent matter with the president on the sidelines of a state visit to India from August 4 to August 8. No details have been provided yet on the rate of the tariff increase or the duration of the rice importation suspension. The Philippine Council for Agriculture and Fisheries is proposing to reinstate the 35% tariff on imported rice to safeguard local palay farmers as prices for local produce decline. The Philippine Council for Agriculture and Fisheries is the advisory body of the DA. The body said the price increase could protect local farmers by making their produce more competitive in terms of price and encourage domestic production. In June 2024, Marcos signed Executive Order No. 62, which slashed rice tariffs from 35% to 15% until 2028 to tame rice prices. However, the current rate is subject to review every 4 months. The DA in June this year expressed support for the recommendation of House lawmakers to revert the rice tariff rate to 35% on the condition that this will be implemented gradually.